Good morning. This is Paul Sanneman from Business Success Tips, where you can learn to make more money in less time and have more fun, specialize in the have more fun. I have a special guest with us today, Steve Fradkin, owner of Fradkin Fine Construction. I can say that in one sentence, right? And I've known Steve for many, many years. I don't know how we go back, what, eight,
Uh,
10 years? It's a
yep,
while.
sounds about right.
And so during that time, he has done what a lot of people want to do. He's gone from, whatever, a million to like, what are you, 10, 12 million now, something like that. And
Yeah,
I'm sure it's been a journey. And a lot of you might learn from the things he's done wrong and the things he's done right. So, Steve, can you tell about your business, how you got there, what some of your struggles were, and give some advice to these, gentlemen and ladies who are figuring out how can they do that themselves.
sure. Certainly, Paul. Yeah, so I've been in business a really long time. This is going to be the beginning of my 34th year in business. And I'd say it's only been the last actually 4 or 5 years that I've really felt like I've got a machine around me. And the first, you know, it, I've had a lot of ups and downs and kind of like great projects, but not a flow of great projects. And finally, I think I figured out what to do to keep the company kind of pipeline full of projects that we want to do with people we want to work with. And I think the thing that changed for me 5 or 6 years ago, and actually with help from you, was to clarify how to market my business, the importance of not being scattered in how I pursue work, and I'd say combined with that, you also helped me uh, realize the importance of building an administrative infrastructure to do the work that we were getting. We were kind of doing, I'd say for a really long time, we were doing projects in maybe the $300,000 to $500,000 range. And then maybe every couple of years we do like a couple of $1 million project,
Oh,
even
and Steve,
20.
can you tell
Yeah.
them where you're located so they get some
Oh,
idea of geography?
yeah. We work in the Seattle area. So
Okay.
it's a good region for high-end custom construction. There are a lot of great architects up here, a lot of clients that can afford good work, and there are a lot of good contractors to compete with as well. So I think clarifying the vision of how to get work, I wasted a lot of time working with architects who never grew their practices. And I saw some of my competitors that went into business about the same time as I did. They happened to start working with architects who were really growing their practices, and it just exploded their businesses. So I didn't just start, I wasn't just anymore looking at the project. I was looking at, okay, the portfolio and, okay, what does this project mean for future work? Is it worth, it may be a great project, but is it kind of a dead end with maybe like a single practitioner architect or somebody that's just never not marketing their practice? And also along with that is I stopped marketing to the general public. We I made, in terms of making mistakes, I'd say the biggest I've made a couple of kind of steady mistakes in my early business life. One was kind of the scattered marketing, and actually our coaching sessions, you help me hone in on, okay, where does your work really come from? And it comes from architects, and those clients are committed. By the time I talk to them, they've invested tens of thousands of dollars in architecture fees. They're not just kicking tires. They're looking for somebody to build their project. Those also, of course, tend to be bigger projects. I was, like paying house a couple of $100 a month, and I was buying internet leads when things got slow, and that was worse for my business than actually taking the day off. I was wasting my time with tire kickers and people who were getting 10 bids to do a kitchen remodel. It was demoralizing and a total waste of time. So when I started focusing on calling architects and then reporting back to you on whether I had called them or not,
I feel like your
um,
dad sometimes,
a
right?
little,
Did you
yeah,
do your
there's a little
homework?
accountability factor there. But yeah, when I really started to realize, and then it also made me, if anybody called me, like when House calls me or Front Porch or Angie's List, I just tell them, hey, I'm not, no, thank you, hang up. I get work by calling architects. I see work published. I call them, congratulate them, say, hey, you should look at what we have to offer. And I don't approach architects with the idea that, hey, I'm looking to you for work and that's something you help me with. Architects need good contractors to do their projects. So we are a resource. A good contractor is an important resource for an architect. So that was kind of a change in mindset from, oh, I'm trying to get work from an architect to, hey, these guys should want to work with me. And now that is true. I mean, we are kind of clawing our way up to the upper tiers of getting good work.
I know when we first started telling you, I said, all these architects already have a girlfriend and it's not you, but don't let that get in your way, right?
I remember that. Yep. I wanted to be that, that really attractive partner walking down the street that they didn't know yet. But so that was one important thing. I'd say the other important thing was, and again, I didn't realize it. You helped me with this, was staffing. I had some very lucrative years in my business 20, 25 years ago when we were much smaller, but I was the project manager, the seller, the estimator. I was kind of running ragged. I was also losing revenue by losing track of what was going on the job sites. So my supervisors and crew were probably doing work I hadn't included in the estimates and hadn't, just didn't even know they were doing until I walked on a job site. So having, I looked at project managers and administrative staff as overhead, and I've really totally turned that around, and having PMs for the type of projects we do is really important. They generate revenue, keep the clients happy. Clients in our niche, they want information. They're willing to pay to have a project manager keep them up to date, update the schedule, update the budget, change orders. It's all of that. And we can largely charge out that project manager, and that building that infrastructure has been critical for us to be able to do the $3, $4, $5 million homes and up that we do, and keep clients and architects happy.
So as a comment, would you say, I know my title there, make more money in less time and have more fun. Do you think you're actually doing that?
I'd say yes, because I'm responsible for a lot less of the operation than I used to be. And there is, it's a bit of a herky-jerky process. It's like, okay, at what size do you need a general manager, or how much can a project manager, how much volume can they manage a year? It's definitely learn as you go. But then once you've done it for a little while, now we can project, okay, if we get these projects next year and we go from 10 million to 12, 15 million, we're going to need another project manager. And, it helps us plan and not react. Another really important thing that we've started doing, especially with our more complicated projects, is understanding the importance of pre-construction. We used to just like wait until we start the job and then, okay, pay attention. Now we got to pay attention to this. Well, no, with some projects, it could be 18 months of pre-construction and negotiation, but at the very least, we need 3 months to pre-con, schedule the subs, have the PM review things. So we hit the ground running. That's a big difference, I think, in the last 5 or 6 years than it used to be.
Now, question. A lot of times when I've given people advice, I say, you need to work with architects. They go, well, architects always ask for 3 bids. They're competing against other guys. I'm not interested in doing any estimating for free. How does that work out for you?
Yeah, you hear that a lot. So we have a mix. We've been really fortunate up here that there's a shortage of contractors, and especially subs and carpenters that can do the kind of work that we do. And a lot of times, a lot of the architects we work with will go through an interview process, not a bid process. We used to do that. We used to, spend 60 hours doing some 200 line bid, and all three bids come in 100% over the guy's budget, and the project never happens. Clients are pissed. Architects actually been paid for their work. We haven't been paid for our work. So
Right.
I've developed a what I call schematic pricing, and it's maybe not as much information as the client and the architect want, but very early in the process, it probably gives them a pretty good idea of the range. And if it's not the right range, then they need to rethink the process before they've put a lot of money into
So
it.
is that a per foot, or how do you,
It's a per foot, but it's not just a per foot. It's not like, and this is, I think, and I've had some architects say this has really been helpful to start the conversation. Some contractors, I've gotten a lot of work because I'm willing to put a couple of hours into getting a little work. So a lot of architects are kind of relieved. What I do is I look at the project. There's, porches, decks, heated space, driveways, exterior, concrete patios, retaining walls. So I kind of divide it all up. I just don't throw a square foot number at the heated space. I look it all over, hot tubs, pools. And so I try to give a client and an architect maybe 6 or 8 lines to chew on with a range. And at least it feels like I've done something. And at this point in my career, I gotta say, I'm probably going to give you a range that's pretty accurate, especially if I know the architect.
Mhm.
For architects that we've worked with, I'll put free time into those clients because I know they're going to come back. And I do shy away to just refuse the guys who say, yeah, I'm getting 3 bids. There are those kind of old school architects, and I do say old school. You don't get an opportunity to create a relationship with the client. Even if you get the job, there's probably a lot of VE that has to happen, but you still haven't. Yeah, I try to avoid it
So
for
how
sure.
do you initiate your relationship with an architect when they haven't used you before and get to that where you become
Yeah,
their new girlfriend kind of thing? How do you pull that off?
yeah, yeah. A lot of times it'll be through Instagram. It'll be I'll look at the local and national design magazines, and if I see an architect have something published, I'll call them and say, "Hey, congratulations! Great project. We do that kind of work. I'd love to stop by and share information about our practices and what we have to offer. And I see you do cool work. Maybe there's an opportunity to work together." Sometimes I'll recommend a client to somebody I haven't worked with if I have a little bit of a, kind of a warm kind of relationship with them.
Mhm.
Um, so I would say that's been the main way to do it. And then architects recommend us to other architects. Um, and that's been really strong. It doesn't take much when you're building $4 or $5 million homes to hit a vein that grows your business.
Right. How long, I know it's a hard question to ask. Does it take you from, hi, I saw you in, Dwell magazine and you look cool, to actually getting a project from, what's that process look like? How long does it take? How many
Wow.
meetings, how many years?
It varies. I mean, it varies. We're looking at work right now. I've known this architect for 20 years. I mean,
Well,
but I've never pushed him. I live in a small community, and I don't really, market hard to the local architects. Know who I am, and they've seen our work.
mhm.
But I would say the quickest it happens for a project like ours is probably 2 or 3 years. Um, and sometimes too, if an architect puts an effort into, investigating us, yeah, maybe we don't get the first project they show us, but by being willing to do a little bit of work for free and develop that relationship, it strengthens my position the next time they have something for me to look at.
So a year or two, I mean, a year is
At
common,
least
right?
at least a year, usually 2 or 3, and then the projects that we have, we can be hired a year and a half in advance for these projects while their design is being finished or permitting. And that's a great time to develop a relationship with an architect,
Mhm.
and help them solve problems. The architects are actually our clients. Yes, our end user clients are really important, but it's the architects that are actually more important to our business. And my
Right.
whole company knows that.
Right. The architects are your clients. That's good
Yeah.
to hear. So as an example, once you had your, we started talking and meeting with architects, what has your business gone through, if you don't mind sharing your gross and your net over those 4 or 5 years? Because I want people
Yeah.
to see you as like an avatar they might be able to talk to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've tripled our gross in the last 6 years, and we've increased our net like almost 500%, I'd say. I try to pay myself a decent amount, pay all of my employees, I think, feel pretty well compensated. We don't lose employees because they're not being paid
Mhm.
well. And I've also had employees come back. And I try to run at 8% net income after
Mhm.
I've been paid, and after a little some profit sharing for the crew, and we have full
So like on 10
benefits.
million, that's 800,000 to you
Yep,
plus, your
yep,
compensation,
yep,
like maybe 12 on a million.
yep.
So, um, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you're in an airport, right?
Yeah.
And the contractor says, man, I've been doing this for, 15 years. I'm at 3 million. So like you were, I'm at 3
Mhm.
million. On some years, I'm at 2 million. Average projects, maybe 400 or 500,000 if I'm lucky. I'm taking them 150 grand. I'm really frustrated. I'm never going to see you again. So just
Mhm.
tell me the truth. How do I get to be like you?
I would say charge more probably. I know little guys especially are the last to raise their prices usually. I know I was like that. Um, and it's funny that you don't have to charge a lot more to net a lot more. And that increase in net gives you a lot more flexibility and staffing,
Mhm.
and allows you to focus more on, getting the work that you want, as
Mhm.
opposed to running down change orders and approving invoices and all of that. So yeah, I'd say start by charging a little more for your work. And then once you get a little more breathing room, staff up with good people, hire the best people for the role that you need to hire. Don't hire people because they're cheap. That obviously it's cliche. You get what you pay for, but
Mhm.
once you've vetted a bookkeeper or an office manager or a carpenter or supervisor, you know, saving money in your early hires is really short-sighted.
Okay. And then you would say, if you're going to be a high-end residential builder, getting work from architects is the key. How do you do that?
I'd say you're probably already working with a few. You want to be careful you don't get pigeonholed to be their like small projects person or their low cost person.
Mhm.
So I would say presenting a really professional presentation to them and to the client, professional budgeting, and everything that we present. I just pound this into my crew and my team's head. Everything we present to the outside world has to be professional, whether it's our website, Instagram, a budget, a letter, an email. Professional, professional, no typos, no grammar problems, professional, elegant work, and that sets a tone. And then you kind of climb out of that, what I call the primordial ooze of the construction world, and start to seem like a partner rather than just somebody to give a bid to a client.
Right.
That
So
did
that
that
all
answer?
comes under all comes under branding, right? That
Yeah.
Yeah, but branding, I guess, is not expensive. If you look at it, logos on your truck, the way you do email, you don't have to hire a branding company. You just got to be consistent in your brand to the right people and build that in
Yes,
the community you want to work in, right?
that's right. That is right. And also, depending on how many employees you have, my employees are trained not to throw an architect under the bus. We don't blame people for things. We take responsibility. We work it out. The client doesn't have to, you're not becoming your client's friend by blaming somebody else for anything that is not going just right on a project. It undermines your position, and it just teamwork, teamwork, teamwork. And if there's stress and issues that have to be resolved, you resolve them in a really straightforward, candid way. And I think everybody appreciates that.
Okay. So if you were going to put that, one thing more than anything else is responsible for that transition from survival to, I can call it, success, what would you say that would be?
God, I think it would be staffing, so that there are enough people in the roles that you need. You cannot do it yourself. You just can't. There's just too much going on. You cannot provide professional service to architects and clients much past $1 million or $1.5 million a year. You have to have a profitable business, and then you have to start using that profit to staff and be patient that the income's going to come once your infrastructure is in place.
Cool. Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Just now, I know you're not a coach or anything like that, but
yeah,
if people would like to get a hold of you just for a couple, are you open to that? If contractors listen to this and say,
sure,
hey, Steve, can I talk to you for like 30 minutes? Are you open to people talking to you?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if so, how would they reach you, Steve?
Best way to reach me is through email. It's steve@fradkin.co. That's FRADKIN.co.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it. And
you're welcome, Paul. Good talking to you.
it seems that, I believe anybody listening to this podcast is capable of doing what you do. You're a smart guy, but they're all smart guys and ladies. It's doing some of the things you talked about. Some of those are difficult, whether it's, working with architects or hiring staff. And, I would say one transformation you made is just personal, is I think you personally shifted to make this all happen. I think it's about you. Does that make sense?
I think I had to have an attitude shift for sure. I can't run everything myself. I have to trust good people and check in with them and let them run their own role.
Right.
Definitely.
Cool. Yep. Well, thanks again, Steve. I appreciate you being here, and congratulations on your success.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Good talking to you. Take care.